Welcome to another episode of the Embodied Union podcast. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Lindsay.
And today we want to have a conversation around why couples wait until it's too late to get support for their relationship. And I really want to shatter the taboo that couples counselling is for broken couples.
Yeah, I see this. It's like we're just going to, we need help now because it's so bad. And it's like we let it get to that point. It's over and over. It's like I get that therapy is starting to become more of it's acceptable,
yes.
It's understandable. But I'm seeing, and what I would love to be the change of is couples coming early in the phase. We just got together and it's like a business plan. We're going to get together and we're actually going to plan this out different to next time because we have the hope that it's going to be different this time because you are going to be different somehow to the last person I was with. That is such a lie that we tell ourselves.
Yeah, and I think the first thing that just needs to happen is the stigma around therapy. I really like what you just said. It's so true. I think maybe it's just the bubble that we're in, but it seems like therapy, self-development, relationship work, it is becoming normalized as something that maybe people are more interested in. Do you think it's the bubble that we're in, or do you think it really is?
I think it definitely is. I think there's a shift overall that people are actually more open to it. People are being I've read this book or I'm doing this thing or whatever it is. It's more normal kind of people are open to the idea of their stuff being actually something that they can change.
I guess there's so much information out there now that people are more exposed to the idea, and it's really empowering once you get this idea that maybe there's something I can do about it. Maybe this isn't just the way that it has to be, or just the way I am, or the way relationship goes. It's something else is possible.
Yeah, the modeling can be different and you can learn different things and have a different experience of relationship just because it's we're good friends, or we're not fighting. That's one way to sort of sit in a relationship and play it out forever. But really,
it's okay. We're doing pretty good.
Oh, no.
Well, that's what I see. There's a lot of couples are suffering in dysfunctional relationships, but a lot of couples are actually just also settling in mediocre relationships. And it's a damn shame because relationship gets to be so freaking good.
Oh my God, it gets to be so good. And I think, if you're, so put it this way, if you're both in a relationship that you both actually want to be in, and I think this is really important, is if you really do both want to be in this relationship, but you're stuck in a loop or things aren't going as well as you would like, or it kind of feels like, it's always the one person. We really need to look at him and he's the problem and all that sort of stuff. It's
there's some blame.
Yeah, it's what a perfect opportunity to go and get some type of, and maybe it's not therapy is the thought in mind. Maybe it's relationship support, as in actually how to structure it. I think maybe people are thinking therapy is for when bad things are
That's
happening.
What I mean. There's stigma around therapy being for the broken person or the broken couple, which I don't agree with. But I think it's true. Maybe they want to do a relationship workshop and just come and learn some new skills without it feeling we're really going under the microscope.
Yeah.
Because we're so not in a good place. It's well, for us, I guess we're different because we are so interested in this work and it's what we do. But it was within the first 6 months of our relationship where we had a bump, something came up, which I can't actually even remember what it is at this point, and we took it straight to therapy. We took it we are therapists, but we have blind spots, and we wanted outside eyes on it so we could be held in this thing that had come up, so we could understand it, and we've done that ever since. Yeah. Whenever we've had something that's kind of rocked the boat, it's let's take it to our guy, and our relation, we move through things so quickly and there's no water building up under the bridge. We've 2.5 years, 2 years, zero resentment. And I get 2 years isn't a 20-year relationship, but we have a clean as we go policy and we look at things with support. So there's just we don't have any of this unresolved hurt and pain that so many couples have when they walk in the door for therapy. When it's like we work with couples who have been together 20 plus years and there's lots of resentment, and we can hold that space and we can get the result. But how amazing when a couple is cleaning as they go from the get-go.
Yeah, or we've had a couple that's, newly married, and it's like most people think, oh, we get married and then things are good. It's like actually coming together to get married is like the start. It's not the end. It's like that's the prime time of like we're really setting our lives up together.
Want to have a baby,
yeah,
have a family.
Do all those things together, and it's like, okay, like how amazing. And I always see it as like, okay, so we are therapists and we're recommending couples do that. But there's no stigma around that with business. It's like, oh, you're going to a business coach for business? Oh, you must be terrible at business.
Right.
True. Oh, your car needs a service? Oh, it must be something catastrophically wrong. You should have some shame about that car having their engine light on.
Better not let the neighbours know.
Yeah, it's just like this stigma around, getting support and knowing that relationship is dynamic and technical and there's a lot involved, and why not have professional help around it, just like a business?
Well, exactly. Like, I believe I love my business, but my relationship is my most precious investment. So if I'm so willing to invest in a business coach, why would I not do the same for my relationship, which is more important to me than like really anything else, because the quality of my relationship really determines the rest of my whole life. If I'm suffering in relationship, work is harder, socializing is harder, friendship stuff, like everything suffers. And like, I think we're at a time where most people have awareness around the fact that they have emotional baggage, and that we're modeling what our parents did, who modeled what their parents did. And there's nothing wrong in saying, hey, I actually don't really know how to do relationship well, because I was never taught. Like, I never saw, like, I had an absent father, so of course I didn't, but I never saw my parents do healthy repair. I never saw there be conflict and then it be worked through lovingly. I never witnessed loving intimacy. Like, I didn't see any of that. And then I just become this adult who's now entering into dating, and it's like, oh, why is this such a shit show? Of course it is. I haven't actually worked on my own hurt and scared and parts that are playing out. And so they play out in relationship. Like, relationship is the arena in which all of our unresolved material gets to play out. And that's happening for me while it's happening for you.
Yeah.
And then it's this together. Like, it's chaos. If you, one, don't have the willingness to learn something new, and two, don't have the skills.
Yeah. And I would even add just like the responsibility aspect in it as well. Just that both need to be responsible. Like, okay, say your partner, like say you're listening right now and your partner has, from what you can sort of see, some dysfunction. Maybe they get triggered really easily. They can't repair very well. Maybe they yell. Maybe they do things which isn't okay. But it's also like, if that's the case, how can we best support that person in not feeling made wrong so we can actually move forward in the relationship? Because I think this is where it goes and falls down to is, it's like, oh, it's your responsibility. Your stuff.
You're the problem. You figure it out.
Yeah. And I think it's important to have compassion for the other that's struggling, just as you yourself struggle in your blind spots, in relationship. So again, yes, it might be your partner that probably needs to do some work, and probably yourself as well, where you can't see it.
I want to challenge that
Yeah.
because when I get a woman in my door and she's like, it's my partner, it's my partner, it's my partner, my work is really about turning all of that attention around. And it's like, what is it about you that has you in a relationship where you're so unsatisfied? Like, we really create our reality.
We really do.
We really do. And if we're really stuck in that it's you, then that person really does need to turn the attention around and just have the inquiry of what is my part? How did I create this? it doesn't mean that we need to accept shitty behavior because, well, I must have created this. It's like, but it's a dynamic of two.
Yep. And the entity of the relationship, the three entities, the you, the me, the us in relationship. And it's like, how are we both serving in service, in devotion to our relationship? Which I think is so important. It's like, if our relationship is our baby, are we nurturing our baby? Are we doing that thing that really has it be fully developed?
And I think, because I just read it before in a message from a woman, and we hear it all the time. We'll get one person who's like, I want to work on the relationship, but my partner doesn't want to, or my partner just says it's my fault, so he's not willing or she's not willing. But it's like, as you were saying, if I'm sitting here and my partner does have stuff coming up and they are anxious or insecure or reactive, because I want to be in service to my partner, but also to my baby, the relationship, why would we not enter into something together? It's like, yes, it might be your stuff that's coming up, but how can we look at this together? Because I am a part of this dynamic, and I'm in service to I'm in service to love, I'm in service to the relationship, and I'm in service to you, which in turn makes me in service to myself.
And I think, yeah, like, I would be loving to have conversations with the partners of persons that are like, I don't want to do this. Because it's like, what's the real fear? Like, what is it? Is it too much? What do
you not want to look at?
Yeah, is it too intimate? Is it too embarrassing? Is there too much shame? It's like, if you really think about it, because there is stigma there, that's probably the biggest reason, is like, therapies for broken people. And it's like, therapies for high performers. Therapy or couples counselling is like for people that, you know, if you do it in the way that we're suggesting, it's to make the most of your relationship. It's to set it up powerfully so it doesn't get to that breakdown point, you know, because this is the normal, almost certain future of most relationships, is like, you are the common denominator. And if you're not learning anything or growing in your relationship, it's very likely to turn out the same way, you know, and a length of time in the relationship's not necessarily a good indicator of a thriving relationship. Sometimes that's just a sign of stuckness or resentment. It could be looping, it could be whatever it is, and it can be worked on. And I think the biggest part that I'm probably seeing from my perspective when I work with men is, how good can it be? Not just, oh, we're not fighting and we have regular sex and those sorts of things. Like, they're all just like, kind of like baseline. It's like, how good is it? You know, I think people settle for what is possible. Yeah.
Yeah, for multiple reasons. They've not witnessed anything different. Maybe all their friends are fighting and getting divorced or not having sex at all. So it's like, oh, we're doing pretty good. It's like, it really does get to be amazing. And it's like, my belief is that relationship, the purpose of it is for growth. We utilize it for growth. And if you want to have a family and you want to model something different, like, what are you modeling to your little humans? Like, what kind of relationship do you want for them? I often ask this question to a woman, if she's like in the relationship she's in, if she's really suffering and she's really unhappy, it's like, would you choose this dynamic for your daughter? It's like, and often if it's a no, then you really have to either do something about it, or you really got to consider what your next move is. Yeah.
I ask the same thing of my men. It's like, would you date you?
Would you date you is such a good question, because I also get women who really want a certain kind of man or a certain kind of relationship. And it's like, are you even a match for that? Are you the embodiment of that? So much so that you could be a match for that, so a partner like that could even see you. Like, we really have these demands on how the other should be, but again, coming back to responsibility, are you being the embodiment of what you say you want? Or are you just expecting someone to come knock on the door who's going to make it all better? I want a good conscious man. I'm like, they don't grow on trees. Like, they only, like, that man or woman isn't coming in until you are a mirror and a match for that.
Yeah, I kind of agree, and it's probably a bit like not what's normally said. Is I have a belief, and people can challenge me on this, is that men don't do the chasing. It's like if a man's really like living his best life and getting after it, I honestly believe that women see that man and do the chasing. Like they're like, that guy, you know, he's amazing. I'm going to chase after that man. And I think that is the dynamic rather than the codependent, you know, version of relating that we see often, where it's people are really stuck in the loop and not getting support to get out of it. Like they both know they're in a loop and just hoping that somehow it fixes itself. And I think that, how many times do you want to go on that loop with somebody, you know, versus, you know, living your best life and being, the, like you say, the embodiment of the kind of person that you want to be calling in. I think it's really important. It's like, we're not doing this like this. We're actually going to go and get support and make it great.
And it's way more empowering. If I'm just sitting waiting for the world to change or the pool of men to change or my partner to change, it's like I'm pretty much putting on my victim cape and being like, oh, can't do anything about this. But it's like if I am responsible for me and how I am being and how I'm showing up in this relationship or in the relationship I want to call in, then it's like I get to take action on that. I get to move the needle myself. It's so much more empowering to be self-responsible. And I've even recently thought to kind of switch the word from responsible to devotional, because I know when I keep telling women, be responsible, sometimes it can really create a bit of contraction. Like maybe responsibility sounds like I've got to carry all this weight, or it feels really heavy, or I have to be responsible and it's all me. It's like, well, how about we reframe it as like, be devoted. Be devoted to yourself and healing your parts, and be devoted to love, and be devoted to your relationship and to partner. Like, just sounds, the word devoted, something nourishing about it and
Sounds
nurturing
good.
And it's, I think it might land for women a bit nicer.
Yeah,
easier.
and I think the same for men too. I think it's like if a man's in a relationship and he's, say, working and providing, let's say, like that more traditional role of providing for his family and whatnot, it's like you're not just a paycheck. You actually are devoting to your family to create the life of that you guys can have together, and you know, that is part of your responsibility. And I think it's important to know that for both people in the relationship, that you're both responsible for your parts, and your partner might not fully ever get what it's actually like
to be you.
And can that be okay? Can you just have trust that that person's doing their best to bring and devote to the relationship as you are? So if you are, one person's working and the other one's staying at home being the mom or whatever, being the house husband, whatever it is, can there be validation for both parties? Not that you're in competition with each other, but actually teammates. And I think that's the thing as well. Like if couples can break the stigma around couples going to get therapy or coaching or support in some way, it's actually you guys just becoming a team. You know, and in that, the team then becomes something that you're both working towards being the MVP of, or bringing your best selves to the relationship for the sake of the relationship, not for the sake of yourself being like, it's about me and I should get what I want and they don't understand me and whatever it is. It's like, gets to be good.
I think the really awesome mantra, maybe if to have something that pops into your head or to repeat, it's like, how can I be in service to love right now? How can I be in service to the relationship? How can I devote to this third entity that's bigger than me and it's bigger than you, but it's what we both say that we want. It's what we're both here for. So how can I devote to that? And that might mean putting your sword down first, or leaning into repair, or setting agreements around the kind of roles you want to take in the dynamic. It's just be in service to love.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as we always talk about, I think it just, you know, making agreements, making some structure so there's something that we can both agree upon, so there can be some safety and some trust and some honesty and some respect, and that kind of ties into being vulnerable with each other of like, this is what I like or want. Do you want that? Do you want the same thing?
What do you value? What do I value? What do I want it to look like and feel like? And
yeah. Gets to be put out there, because I think there's also that of like, oh, don't want to make it worse somehow. If we go to therapy, it might make it worse.
And it might, if it needs to get worse, if we need to expose some shit, if we need to take the Band-Aids off. That's true.
Yeah.
And is what you're doing working? Do you just keep on keeping on? Or do you create something different, potentially magical?
I'm here for the magic.
And this is what we do. This is what we do with couples. This is what we do. We help them make agreements. We help them get clear on their values. We help them do their own internal work. And so that they can utilize relationship for growth. We teach you the skills to communicate, to hold space, to properly listen, to actively listen, to expose your upset, all of this. And we do have a workshop coming up.
We do, a one-day workshop, 7th of September.
If you are on the Gold Coast or on the east coast of Australia or in Australia and want to travel, that's coming up really soon. And we are going to do an online edition. So you can come and spend a few hours with us wherever you are in the world. And we are going to break this down because it gets to be epic.
Yeah. And, you know, having both of us be therapists ourselves, it's like we get it. We get the dynamic nature of a relationship, and it's not so simple, but it gets to be. If you do the work, it gets to be amazing. It gets to be so much better. Learn something about yourself, learn something new about your partner, get curious, be fascinated by love and by each other. Lots of fun. Lots of fun.
So if you want to come and dive in, you can reach out to either of us, Lindsay B on Instagram, and I am Charlie S. Hannah, and then we have our Embodied Union. You can find us through the podcast. If you have any questions, as always, just you know where to find us. Anything else to add there, my love?
No. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Embodied Union podcast.
Yay. See you next week.
Love you, Critter.
I love you.